Hi Statesmen Nation, welcome to another week of the Coaches Show. Obviously we are not at the trio this week, it's spring break week, so wanted to and needed to bring it on campus here as we're just kind of a little bit short on resources. So anyhow, we are going to have three awesome guests this week, beginning with head shotgun sports coach Colton Udemark. Colton, appreciate you coming in for a little bit here. When this actually airs, you're going to be somewhere in Texas, so hopefully in Texas, and we'll talk about why you might not be later on. But let's just kind of back up here. You've got already one meet under your belt, going over to Illinois and competing in the spring conference meet, ACUI conference meet. Just talk about that, the goods and the bads and uglies.
Well, obviously, as you know, we were practicing leading up to that event. We had some weather hit us. Obviously, in Iowa in the spring, you never know what you're going to get. So we tried to make do with the elements that we had, and we kind of went into regionals a little rusty. It wasn't our best performance. We had a couple highlights, but it became very evident that we needed some things to work on. And the elements at regionals, it was windy, it was cold, and so obviously all the athletes were dealing with it, and so we underperformed. And I told the team halfway through that I'm like, look, we need to think differently for practices. We have, at that point, we had 3 weeks left to practice, and so we need to figure out how to be more efficient in practice. And so I challenged the athletes in competition. I was like, okay, when we're competing, I want you to be thinking about things that you need to work on in practice. Something that happened in competition that you know that you need to work on in practice, whether that was where you're setting your eyes, whether that was looking at the targets in a certain way, whether that was gun efficiency. We just need to be more we need to be competing at a higher level. These athletes are very talented, and we underperformed. And so moving into practice after national regionals, I was very intent on having a plan for everyone. I went and talked to all my athletes, and I said, okay, what is your plan for practice today? And every single one of them was giving me very specific things that they were going to work on in practice. And ultimately, that's the stuff that I like to hear about, because those conversations and that type of training that we can bring to practice is going to increase our efficiency on not only how much we shoot, but also increase the quality of practice that we have. And so every single athlete is, every single practice, at the beginning of practice, is telling me exactly what they're going to work on. And that's something as a coach that I love to see, because regionals, we underperformed, but it really kind of lit a fire in them, and that's that passion that I knew the team had. And so they've taken that into practices, and so we'll see how this week of practice was very had a lot of quality, and so we'll see how it goes this weekend when we go to Simpson.
There you go. All right, let's talk about Simpson and mostly about Nationals, ACUI, again down in San Antonio, Texas. This week, next week, however you want to look at it when this actually airs. But yeah, what are you looking forward to for these meets? Obviously, start with Simpson.
So Simpson, obviously, at the time of this recording, we'll have Simpson, and so I'm really looking forward to just building confidence. But again, after Simpson, we're on spring break, so a lot of the athletes are going home, and I want them to go home with a plan. Right. As practice throughout the spring break week. I want them to have a plan for how they're going to practice, what they're going to practice. I want to know what they're going to be working on specifically. Nationals, we're really excited about that. We're going down there. They have some practice facilities down there that we're able to practice at. And for those of you that probably a lot of you guys don't know, when you go down to a range, if you have practice there, you can utilize the different backdrops, because obviously down in Texas they have a little bit different background than we do here in Iowa. And so really seeing the terrain, really seeing the greenery or the lack thereof at this point in the year, that's very important for the athletes to kind of see how targets are flying, how to adjust based off of the different geographical locations based off their background, which definitely change how the target's perceived. And so that's very important. When we go down to nationals, we'll have a couple different practice days where we can kind of work on those fine-tuning details, just so the athletes kind of understand and know, what specifically they need to be on the lookout for while their team's down at nationals.
For sure. Awesome. All right. Meant to probably start with this, probably been a better way. Talking about winter and knocking off some of that rust. You guys only had 3 weeks of practice, or roughly 3-ish weeks going into a national. So, what were some of the unique ways that some of the athletes were able to keep some of the rust off? Considering, it wasn't a highly snowy winter, but it was cold enough that it kept them out of the ranges.
Yep. A lot of times over Christmas break, I heard a lot of kids, because it was a fairly nice Christmas break, a lot of kids would go shoot at their local clubs and just kind of keep that rust off and still maintain, a lot of times what people don't know is, reading targets is something that you can kind of lose as time wears on, and so just reading targets over Christmas break, that really helps, because we had a long break from October 12 was our last competition to middle of February. That's a long time. Well, Christmas break they were able to able to shoot a little bit, but a lot of times what kids will do, there's different eye drills that we can work on, different types of eye drills, called eye push-ups sometimes,
Sure.
but basically it's just working your eyes to make sure that you're basically retaining the muscle to be able to move far left and far right, as it's very important when we're watching targets. We want to be able to see our targets to the full extent. So there's different eye drills that kids can work on. Gun mounts are very important. The first thing that we always want to check is your gun fit. A lot of times we need to check gun fit, because that can change. Even if someone loses or gains 5 pounds, that's going to change how your point of impact is. That's going to change your sight picture. So those are some things that we can kind of monitor and check over the course of the break. But yeah, just a lot of different in-home stuff. Mounts are very important because that maintains that consistency in your mounts. Make sure it's setting in your pocket consistently. Make sure you're on your comb consistently. So those are just a couple things that kids do in the off season to maintain that.
A lot more than I knew, for sure. All right. Finally, you've got exciting news coming up at some point. I know you're nervous about it, but you're going to be a dad soon. So, unfortunately, it just works into the most important time of your season. So, just talk about where your head's at with all this, and just trying to figure out how I'm going to be a dad and a coach and get these kids to nationals, all that.
It's definitely been a challenge. Obviously, this is all new to me, and she's due March 14. The team's leaving March 15, so that kind of puts a damper in things. But also, we hear all these stories about people going to labor early, and so I've really had to kind of plan my entire spring season around the fact that at any point I'm not going to be there.
Yeah.
And so I've always had a backup plan. I've always been making sure at practices and competitions that someone is there to take charge, that the kids know what they work on, what they need to work on at a moment's notice if I were just to have to leave. Going down to nationals, I got my assistant coach going down there, and obviously we're all very, very familiar with Steve Heaton, and so the team is going to be in very good hands, assuming he does have to go down there for the majority of the week. So we're just really excited. The team's in good hands. The team is very passionate, so they want to do well, which is obviously what any coach could ever want is for the athletes to want to do well. But just that drive and that passions on the team is something that is definitely showing through, and so the kids are always trying to think about new ways to get better, and that honestly makes my job really easy, especially in this time when I might have to leave at a moment's notice. So, but yeah, I've changing my plans on how I normally have to run spring semester goes into it a little bit, but ultimately, we've got a lot of good parents. We have a lot of, Steve's been able to help me out a lot, that have kind of been helping me out in areas that I normally would be in control over. So, but yeah, going into nationals, everything's all set up and everything's all ready, and so yeah, I'm just whether I'm down there or whether I'm here in Iowa, I'll be monitoring the
There you go.
situation. So,
Go with the flow, right?
yep, that's all I can do.
Okay. All right. Well, once again, Colton Udemark, head shotgun sports coach here at William Penn. Best of luck at Nationals, and Simpson, obviously, as well, coach, and best of luck with the baby situation. So.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. When we come back, we'll have another coach here on the Coaches Show. Welcome back to the Coaches Show. We are now joined by head football coach Mark Benavidez. Coach, middle of the season, people might be like, why are we talking about football? But hey, guess what? In a matter of 10 days or so from when this is being filmed, you're going to start up spring ball. So right now it's recruit. So let's talk about just kind of where the team's at right now, what you guys have been doing the last few months since the season's been over.
Yeah, we knew going into last year, obviously we're going to rely on a lot of true freshmen to contribute for us, and fortunately we've had great retention, and so far this offseason it's all been predicated around making sure that we can develop and get them bigger, faster, stronger, and build that competitive edge. And so these last few months it's been solely stuff in the weight room or academics or getting them prepared for just life in general. And then like you mentioned here, in less than 2 weeks, we're going to start actual spring practices and finally get on the field. And so looking forward to that and looking forward to having these guys compete against each other.
Definitely. In recruiting, what have you been looking for? Where have you been going?
Yeah, so for the first time with me being here, I believe that we're finally in a situation where we have some older guys, and we're hopefully not having to rely on very many true freshmen to be key contributors for us. And obviously, we might have some guys that are stud football players that can help us out as an 18-year-old. But ideally, we want to have those experienced guys playing for us. And so, we've established some big recruiting areas in the past. Obviously, we want to focus on the state of Iowa, with us being here in Oskaloosa. But certain areas in Texas and Florida have been big pipelines for us, and also in California. And so much of my coaching staff have been to those 3 different states outside of just naturally the Midwest here, and that's been a big focus, and we've had a lot of success.
Yep, definitely. Type of players you're looking for. I know this kind of goes back to the original question when you were originally hired is, who fits the Statesman mold?
Yeah, we want guys that are going to be competitive, guys that can fit here at William Penn, be a good fit for Oskaloosa. Every school, every place isn't for everybody, and so that's important for us. Outside of that, some key positions, again, offensive and defensive line. I mean, that's how you win games, simply the trenches, and you can never have enough of those guys. And also from a development standpoint, it's not easy getting somebody here that's 18 to play offensive line, so it takes some time. And so, ultimately, again, we want somebody who's going to be a good fit for the program, good fit for the school, the town, and I think we've done a good job here the last couple of years trying to do that.
Sure. All right, let's talk about spring ball then. Like you said, you start in a matter of a week or so. It's going to be a few weeks long, obviously real expedited, but not a big window. What are you hoping to accomplish during that time?
Yeah, when all of our guys get here in the fall, it is an absolute rush of, hey, we've got to get a bunch of stuff done in a month time frame, 3-week time frame, and then we've got to be concerned about an opponent every single Saturday. And finally, we're in a situation where reps should be fairly split evenly for most of our guys, and we can focus on ourselves and true development of our understanding of our scheme, of our technique, of our fundamentals. And so that's a huge thing for us, is doing whatever we can to make sure that we're simply developing our guys, making sure that they can execute come fall time. Then on top of that, almost every single one of our practices is going to be starting at 5:45 in the morning. Most of these will be at the stadium outside, and so sometimes the weather is not the best, but we want to do whatever we can to just build that competitive edge and making sure our guys, regardless of the conditions, we're going to go out there and work our butts off and get the job done.
All right, personally, what have you been doing lately that's been away from football, just to take a break from the grind that it is? I know you're a grinder, but just to be like, all right, just take a break from it for a second.
Well, I work out about 5 o'clock in the morning, and oftentimes see your wife there too.
Not me, but you see her.
Work out at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then right after that, get right back there at 5:45 for our guys to work out. So I don't know. That's the one thing I've got going on right now for me.
Give it a break. Okay. All right. Then finally, spring game. You said it, but I'm going to let you give me the date so I don't forget it. But
I believe we got April 17th, Thursday. Going to be an evening there, and so for us, again, starting practices right after spring break, we got about a month or so there to get things prepared, and it might be a little bit different format. Again, for us, college football in general has changed a lot. A lot of people aren't having spring games anymore. And, again, we want to focus on our guys simply understanding our schemes, our fundamentals, our techniques, what we're trying to accomplish, and at the same time going out there competing against each other and having a good time.
Yeah. Anything you can give the viewers as far as what that format looks like, or are you guys still trying to figure it out a little bit?
We'll see how things are. For us, that's still a long time from now. And so health and injuries and weather, those are all important things here in the state of Iowa, obviously, how things pan out in March and April. Yeah. And so, again, big thing for us, simply making sure our guys are having fun and competing out there.
Definitely. Awesome. All right. Thanks, Coach. Once again, Mark Benavidez of the football team. Spring game just a little over a month from now, and then you guys will just keep on grinding and bringing in new players. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. We'll be back with one more coach here on the Coaches Show. Welcome back to the Coaches Show. We're now here with head baseball coach Mike Laird. Coach, we're about a month into the season here. We only had one weekend cancel, which is pretty good considering February ball and stuff. We were able to move things, so it was good. Let's just talk about the first month. You've had a lot of good, a lot of good games, but some inconsistency here and there. So just kind of recap us where we're at here.
Well, that's correct. At times we played very, very well against some very good teams, and we knew the schedule was pretty tough going into this year. So it's kind of by design that we kind of tested ourselves to get more ready, I think, for opening weekend in the Heart, because that's always tough. But yeah, we've actually done pretty well, and we've beaten a couple teams. One team ranked pretty high, another team that I expect to maybe make a run for even World Series. They're that good. Concordia, and some other teams that we played were receiving votes or ranked as high as 12th. We should have, could have, would have beaten a couple more of those teams. So, but yeah, by and large, our guys they played pretty well, and we're constantly emphasizing, doing the small things right. We have to. And but it's been a good team effort, generally speaking. Our team, whether it's pitching, defense, or hitting, has, for the most part, they've kind of stepped up and performed pretty well.
Yep. Let's talk about the, coming off not being able to do anything, obviously, during the winter, and the importance of, having the pack here and being able to do things and not just, you remember the days before the pack and feel like, all right, how are we going to get, these kids ready for, ball in a matter of a few weeks. So, just how have you been able to adjust, and where do you think they are? Then you see them out in the field. So, how important has that been?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and it's kind of complicated. If people are, all of our coaches now currently, they're used to the pack.
Yeah,
they're used to that facility, used to the nice 71-degree temperatures all the time, and good hops and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's been a little tricky sometimes getting enough time on it, I thought. But this week we've really finished up getting some little things done that we hadn't quite cleaned up, and I think it's going to really help us for this weekend. But yeah, we used to use that upstairs gym for everything, literally everything, all of our ground ball work, all of our bullpens, hitting, of course, and I remember we were doing that. Won the league 3 or 4 times in a row and went to the World Series using that facility. So it's kind of how you manage your space or utilize your space and how your guys buy in, basically. But yeah, this facility obviously helps us an awful lot to prepare for getting outside.
Yeah. Going back to the quality of teams, like you said, the Heart's tough. So you guys had to go out and play teams to be prepared for it. What are some of the things that again, you saw in that first month, you're like, all right, this is why we play these teams, so we know that we are prepared for the Heart?
Well, it was a test. It obviously was a test. And that first weekend, we went 1-3. That was, I wasn't quite sure. I mean, 3 of the 4 schools over there that we played, like I said, one was ranked 12, 2 others were getting votes. 3 of them were picked to win their league championships. One had been in the World Series last year, and the other team was very good as well. I going over there, I thought, man, if we could get a game or two against that level of competition right out of the pack here,
Yeah.
feel okay about it. And when we got over there, we ended up dropping the first game on a walk-off with 2 outs on an infield single in the bottom of the 10th against a very good team, McPherson from Kansas. And I thought, wait a minute, man, that team really is pretty good. And then the other 3 teams, we upset another team, had a couple big hits. And the other 2, we lost an 8-inning game to Doane, and they're a very good team as well. And then the host team make one bad pitch, an 0-2 pitch on the plate. The guy hits a 3-run, 2-out, Oppo's double down the line, and we lose 4-2 to the team that's ranked 12th.
Mm-hmm.
So a play or two here and there, we could have come out of there easily. I'm not saying easily, but we could have come out of there 3-0 or 3-1, maybe even 4-0.
Sure.
And so that was really encouraging. It was a little bit frustrating because we didn't win another game or so, but the competition, it allowed me to realize, hey, these new guys that we got that came in, they can play a little bit, and we've got some real potential with them blended in with the returners.
Sure. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, being every year, you got to build team chemistry again. You got to figure out how are you going to make these guys all work together. But I think you just alluded to that it's going well, that the team bought in with what they're doing, and they're working for each other and all that.
Yeah, our culture, team culture, is A+ right now. I mean, it's and that's what's going to carry us literally. And that's part of a conversation I just had with a young man in my office a little bit ago. And I also had a phone call from another coach yesterday that his team is just absolutely loaded with talent. I mean, All-Americans, D1 transfers, all that kind of stuff. And it was a very, very, very frustrated coach on the other end, wondering how to get these guys to play together and how to get them to not be selfish and how to get them to, execute some little things. And sometimes tremendous athletes, some of those guys, the ego gets in their way. Mm-hmm. And when you got a lot of egos like that, it is very, very difficult to get that team culture that you need to survive a long season. And so I think we do have the culture. I'm pretty sure about that. And fortunately, I've been able to get some of the right guys to come in and take some positions that we needed help. And so we've had good leadership, really good leadership, a good team culture. We've got some talent, obviously, too. Mm-hmm. We've got a little bit more depth, I think, pitching-wise than we had last couple of years. And certainly that's going to help us too. And we've actually hit the ball pretty well at times, real well at times, which is a little bit of a surprise, honestly. And but we're going to stay with the plan and not try and get too big or get cocky or anything like that, because we got a long way to go.
Definitely. All right. Speaking of the long way to go, everything from here on out is conference play, and it's going to be a grind. You got all these 4-game sets, and you're going to rely on. Just see how deep that bullpen is and that pitching staff. So how have your projections and evaluations of the team, I shouldn't say evaluations, but your expectations of the team changed now that you guys are a month in and you've seen them on the field? Hopefully for the better, right?
Mm-hmm. Every night, I mean, I talk to our guys prior to, us breaking and getting into our, into our practices, but they probably get tired of hearing me, guys, get in here. I try to talk about little things. Little things become very big things if you don't fix them. That's my opinion. And so we just harp on those things, trying to get them to do the right things mechanically in practice. Because obviously in a game, you shouldn't be thinking a lot about mechanics. You're there to perform and not analyze everything. If you do, if you snooze, you lose on that stuff. So. But the guys have been, I think they're pretty receptive about doing the little things, and I'm pretty happy about that. They're starting to plug in some things that they go, yeah, we could have won that game. We could have beaten Doane, or we could have beaten so-and-so if we'd done just one more thing, or if we'd located that 0-2 pitch instead of throwing a fat one right down Broadway. So just stuff like that, doing the little things. And we've got good leadership, good returners back that, we've got Dominguez and Arroyo and Medueno are kind of my captains, seniors, and those guys they get it entirely. We got real good relationships with those guys, and they're kind of like my lieutenants, if you will. I don't know if that's a way to put it, but they really help kind of ride shotgun on things, and so yeah, I feel good about it. We got a chance to be pretty good if we stay the course. If we stay within ourselves and do what we need to do to win, I think we'll be pretty good.
Definitely. Awesome. All right, thanks, Coach. Team is at Peru State this weekend. By the time this actually airs next week, you'll have Park next weekend for the home openers. So get an opportunity to go out to Statesmen Ballpark, as part of the Lacey Complex, and check out the team. Weather at this point looks pretty good for mid-March. We're excited for it. So opportunity to catch a team, 4-game set next Saturday and Sunday. So thanks, Coach, so much. Otherwise, other games, plenty of other games, men's volleyball, softball, men's lacrosse, golf will be hosting tournaments. So yeah, still a lot of home events here as we wind down the 24-25 school year. So next time we're on the Coaches Show, we will be back at the Trio. So hope to have you there, at least to be able to watch online, but otherwise come out and check it out, play some pickleball, watch a movie, all of that. So thanks so much, and have a great week. Thanks, Statesmen Nation.